Okay, so Daf Hey in Kiddushin, the very top of Ham and Aleph. Minayin Shaf B'Shtar. How do we know that we can be a man can be Mekadosh and Isha with a document? B'dinhu, it's a Kavachomer. Ma'kesef she'ein motzi machnes, money which you're not able to divorce or terminate a marriage with money. You're able to initiate a marriage with money. Shtar shemotzio enudin shemachnes, a star which you're allowed to divorce with a star. So you should certainly be able to start a marriage with a star. Then the Gemara asks against them. Malakasef shein bonabo hektish u'maiser sheni tomer shtar shein bonabo hektish u'maiser sheni. But money has an additional feature. Money is also usable to redeem hektish if you donated something to the Beis Hamikdash. So the Beis Hamikdash doesn't need that object, so you redeem it, or maiser sheni. That's in the first, second, fourth, fifth year of the Shemitah cycle. You have Meiser Sheni, which you bring those crops to Yerushalayim and eat it in Yerushalayim. If it's too hard to bring it to Yerushalayim, you can redeem it. You can transfer the sanctity, the Kedusha of the produce onto money. When you get to Yerushalayim, you can buy food, human food, with that money. And you can only use money for these redemptions, not Shava Kasef or other things. Tomer Shtar, She'ein Pod Bo Hektish Meiser Sheni. But so a kasef is a more versatile form of acquisitions because you can redeem hektish meiser sheni with it. But a shtar, you're not able to redeem it. You can't write a shtar that say, I will pay the hektish, $30 for redeeming this chair. It doesn't work. Tiksiv and also not kasef a come low, because the pasuk says you will give the money and it will go up to you, meaning you can redeem it with money and not with any other form of payment or of obligations. Amakra v'yatza v'haisa. So that's a reason why kasef is more versatile. So you can't learn shtar from kasef, that you should be able to start a marriage with a shtar. So Amakra v'yatza v'haisa. The pasuk says v'yatza, she will leave her husband haisa, and then she was. The context of the pasuk is to tell us that if she remarried a different man, she's never allowed to marry her first husband again. Meaning, if someone wants to be a non-Kohen, a Kohen can't be Machzer Grushaso, but someone else who can be Machzer Grushaso as long as she wasn't married to someone else since they were married. So that's the shot in V'yatza v'haisa, but the limud is there's a hekesh. We're comparing V'yatza v'haisa just like Ma Yitzia B'shtar, Apavayinami B'shtar. Just like you can divorce, you can leave a marriage with a shtar, you can also start a marriage with shtar. So then the Gemara asks, V'ikishnami yitzia. Oh, so the very important halacha. Gittin is very complicated because, is that in order to write a get, it needs to be written on stuff that's owned by the husband, and he has to write it l'shmo and l'shma and l'shem gerushin. So according to this limud, if you would be mekadosh with the shtar would also have to be written in a similar way, l'shma, l'shmo, and l'shma, and l'shem kiddushin, and things like that. The ksuva that we have, people ask, how come it takes so long to write a get? Everything is specifically for this person. How come a ksuva isn't the same way? Well, a ksuva isn't a shtar kiddushin. So that's why ksuba doesn't have to be written l'shmo, l'shem gerushin. You could have a form with some blanks and you fill it in. But if you're literally going to be mekadosh with the shtar, it would have it just because it's learned from Gittin, it would have a lot of the same halachos that a get has. The ikishnami yitzil havaya. So then the Gemara asks, if we have a hekesh between divorce and Kiddushin, why don't we compare divorce to Kiddushin? Mahavaya b'kesef hafi yitzia b'kesef. Why don't we let someone get divorced by paying money, or giving money, not just by shtar? So Rabbi yomru kesef machnes kesef motzi sneger yasek kategor. Rabbi says if money, which can initiate a marriage, could also terminate a marriage, we would say that the defender becomes a accuser or a prosecutor. So then the Gemara doesn't like that answer. Yahachi shtar nami yomru shtar motzi shtar machnes kategor yasek sneger. If so, then the shtar, if you're able to get married with the shtar, you're also going to get divorced with the shtar. Again, now Kategor Nasa Senegar, the defendant is going to become the prosecutor. So Mili Dahai Shtar Lachut, Mili Dahai Shtar Lachut. The Gemara says, no, that's not a problem because each star has its own content, and the content of a star Kiddushin is not the same as the content of a star Gerushin. But then where it says Hachanami high kasbah l'chud high kasbah l'chud, well, this is money and this is money. Let's say this is silver coin, that weighs X ounces. To marry her and to divorce, it's also a silver coin that weighs X ounces or Y ounces. It's different money, and it's certainly not the same coin before. So it says Tiva Mia Chadhu, but in its essence or its nature, it's really the same thing. This is money, that's money. A star and a Kiddushin, a star Gerushin, they're both staros, but there's lots of types of staros. Money is money, even if it's a different denomination or it's a different coin, but it's still basically the same thing. It's currency, it's money. Whereas staros, they're different type of staros, and there's many different types of staros. So that's Abaye's answer why we don't allow you to divorce with Kesef because of Senegar Yasik Tegar. Rava Amar, Rava gives a different answer. Amar Kra B'kasav La, because for a get, it says he will write her Sefer Krisos. B'ksiva Miskareshes, Veina Miskareshes B'kasef. So you get divorced with writing a document, but you don't get divorced with Kasef. So it's Xer Shava, it's not a Svara, like Abaye had it. So according to Rabbi, there's a drasha. Because of Labaksiva Miskareshes, Reina Miskareshes B'kasef. She's only divorced with writing and not with Kasef. So you can't make any Kavachomer or Lima. Point out that if you look on Gimel Amid Beis on the 5th line, it says Amakra Sefer Kriso, Sefer Korsa Ve'in Dabarach or Korsa. This seems to be the same limud, but it's different words. But it seems to be the Sefer Krisos that you're written with, but even though it's different words, it seems to be the same drush. The aim of B'ksiva Miskareshes, Vein Miskareshes B'ksiva. So maybe the drasha, the Gemara asks, the Kasavla tells us that you're divorced with Ksiva, and you could only be divorced with Ksiva and not have Kiddushin with a star. So the Gemara rejects that possibility because it says Haksiv Yatsa V'Haisa Makshavaya Letzia. Because of the hekesh between Gittin and Kiddushin, so since Ksiva works for Gerushin, it also works for Kiddushin. So the Gemara asks, Umara Isa Umarais Mistavra Koi Begerushin Mamai Gerushin, Koi Begerushin Mamai Kiddushin. So if it's talking about Gerushin, it's excluding something else in Gerushin, that B'Sefer Krisos Ve'ein Davar Acher, and you can't divorce any other way. But to say that we're talking about Gerushin, V'Yatza V'Haisa, which is in the Parsha of Gerushin, the Parsha of Gerushin is telling us a limud about Kiddushin, to exclude Kiddushin, it doesn't make sense. Then we're about halfway down the page, Haman Aleph, Rabbi Yossi, Aglili, Ta'apik Leila, Haikrela Jasha Achrina. Shana Miskareshis Bekasef Manale, and Rabbi Yosef Glili, who used that pasuk for a different drasha, that she cannot be divorced with Kasef. How does he know that she can be that she can be married with a star? So Amar Kra, how do we know that how does he know that she can't be divorced with money? So Amar Kra, Sefer Krisos, Sefer Korsa, Vein Davarach or Korsa. So what's Rabbi Yossi Glili? Getting Daf Chafal for Biosi has a drasha sefer, that the word sefer, when he's writing a sefer krisos, so sefer, how do I know that's only something that's written, like a book? How do we know that anything can be used for divorcing her? Because of law. You write it to her, mikamakam, however it's written. So the Gemara says, well, so how come it says sefer? So he says, just like a sefer isn't alive and it can't be consumed, it can't be eaten. So the get can be written on anything that's not can be done by something that's not alive and is not eaten. So that's the drasha that he used from that. So then, how does he know? How to know that you can't be divorced with Kesef? So he will learn it from Sefer Krisos, not from the Kasav law, but from Sefer Krisos. Sefer Korso ve'ein davar acher korso. Now, from this line, it seems that the drasha that Rava said, the Kasav law b'ksiva miskareshes ve'ein miskareshes b'kesef, is a different limud than Sefer Krisos. So I'm just not sure if there's two limuds going on, or some people hold there's two and some holds it's the same. The Rabbanan high krisus may have delay. What are the Rabbanan darshan from the word krisus? They mean that a get has to be something that fully separates, cuts off the husband from the wife. Kiddushin, as we learned in the Brisa, if this is your get on condition that you never drink wine, or that you never return to your father's house, that's not something that cuts them off, because it's something that's not possible to do. But kol shoshim yom, if you said you can't drink wine for 30 days, this is your get, or you don't go to your father's house for 30 days, because it's a temporary thing. It might be difficult for 30 days, but it's doable. Hareze krisos. That is a good separation. Rabbi Yossi Aglili, how does Rabbi Yossi Aglili know that halacha? Mikaris krisus kanaftale. He says the pasuk just said sefer kares. How come it said sefer krisus? Krisus is like a plural. So he learns it from, can learn two things, because if it wouldn't need it to learn the two halachos, it could have just said sefer kares. Rabbanan kares krisus lamashmahu. And the Rabbanan, they don't think that there's a difference in between kares and krisus, that we would darshan an additional thing from the word krisus. So now we learned about kesef shtar and bia. So now the Gemara says, we can't learn bia from shtar, or bia from kesef. We can't learn kesef from bia, or kesef from shtar. We can't learn shtar from bia, or shtar from kesef. Chadami tesi chadami tarti. Why don't we learn it from a mematzina? Why don't we learn shtar from kesef and bia? Why don't we learn kesef from bia and shtar, etc.? So hi tesi. So what would he be? Lo lifter rachmana b'shtar v'tesi mihanach. If we say, if the Torah wouldn't have told us about the shtar, about v'yatzav haisa, to know that we could be mekadosh with shtar, we could learn shtar from the other two, from bia and kesef. Malahanach shkein anas and meruba. But bia and money, you have a lot of hana from them. Shtar, you just have a piece of paper, but you can't do anything with it. Bia, there's hana, physical hana, and kesef, you can buy things, you can give gifts, you can do a lot of stuff with that. But shtar, there is no hana from having that shtar. So lo necharapan but bia v'teismi hanach. So let the Torah not say ubala. So we don't know bia. Why don't we learn that bia works from kesef and shtar? Malahanach shekain kinyaz and meruba. No, because shtar, you can acquire many things with the shtar. You can acquire many things with money. Bia is really limited just to Kiddushin. So we wouldn't learn that from the other two. If the Torah wouldn't have written kesef, let's learn that you could be mekadosh with kesef from a combination of bia and shtar. No, because there's times that the bia works bal korach, that's to be a yibum, and let's say shtar works for get. She can be, before the Chem Rabbeinu Gershom, she can be divorced against her will. And if you want to respond that kesef is also against her will if she was sold as an Amma Ivriya. So the Gemara says it's true for Amma Ivriya it is, but Be'ishus Mila Ashkechan. We never find in a case of matrimony that kesef can be given for marriage against a woman's will. 2 dots, 5 lines up from the 6 lines up from the bottom, Hamid base. Rav Huna says, and we saw this on that base. Chuppah konami kavachomer. Chuppah works as a Kiddushin, as a kavachomer. Ma kesef she'eno machal b'truma kona, money, which does not, just because he's mekadosh with kesef, it doesn't let him eat truma if he's a kohen. But he acquires her as his wife. Chuppah shemachos b'truma nedinsha tikna. So chuppah, which would enter her into his household to the degree that she's allowed to eat truma, certainly should be enough to do Kiddushin. So the Gemara asks, just because he was mekadosh with kesef, she's not allowed to eat truma. Ula said, Dvar Torah arusa bas Yisrael l'chalos b'truma. An arusa, someone who had Kiddushin only and not Nesuin, who's a Yisrael, but her husband is a Kohen. She is allowed to eat truma midiraisa. Shnamar v'kohen ki yiknei nefesh kinyan kaspo v'hai kinyan kaspahu. And the Kohen, when he acquires a soul, kinyan kaspo, as an acquisition of his money. So being mekadosh a woman is kinyan kaspo. So midiraisa, she's allowed to eat truma. The reason that the Chazal said that she's not allowed to eat truma is because in case he gives her wine or something in her father's house, she might share it with her brothers or her sisters, and they're not kohanim. So really midiraisa, she's allowed to eat truma. But if you want to ask, this is what you should ask. If money which doesn't complete the nesuin. Nesuin cannot be done by kesef, but he does acquire her chuppah shegomeres enodincha tikni. Chuppah, which completes in nesuin, should certainly also work as the earlier stage of this kinyan. So then the Gemara rejects it, and it says malak kesef shkein bodo hekdeshos. The malak kesef shkein bodo hekdeshos meiser sheni. So chuppah wouldn't work because kesef is better than chuppah, because kesef you could also redeem hekdesh and meiser sheni with. We mentioned this at the beginning of the first Amud. And chuppah, you can't do anything else with chuppah except nesuin. So then the Gemara says bia tokiach. So bia is something which also just works for Kiddushin. So I guess there might be a shita that bia works for chuppah also, or that the point of chuppah is bringing into your household. But bia tokiach. So, oh no, it's that bia doesn't, you can't redeem hekdesh and meiser sheni or do on other kinyanim with bia, still it works. So chuppah, it can also work to be for erison. So then when it rejects malabia shekain kona bia vama, but bia works in other kinyanim also. It works for yibum, not just for regular kedushin. So let chuppah work for regular kedushin also. So the Gemara says kesef yochiach, which doesn't work in Yavama, so let chuppah work from a combination of limud of kasef and bia. The chazar adin lo rizek rizev lo rizek rizeh. So this one is not exactly like this, and it's not exactly like that. But the common denominator between chuppah and kasef and bia is that they acquire for other things and they work here. Excuse me, not chuppah, for bia and kasef. They acquire for other things and for Kiddushin. So it'll also bring chuppah that is kona in general. It also acquires here for Kiddushin. But kesef, you can do a lot of things if you have money. Bia is a physically pleasurable thing. Chuppah doesn't have. So maybe chuppah couldn't be for Kiddushin. So the Gemara says shtar yochiach. Now we're using a third thing as the limud, a common denominator of three things. Shtar yochiach, because shtar is not, you can't do much with the shtar. You just have a piece of paper. You can't really do much with it. So then the Gemara asks mal shtar shekain motzi b'vas Yisrael, but shtar also has a separate property that it can divorce with it. So the Gemara then says kesef bia yochichu, because you can't divorce with money or bia, yet they work for Kiddushin. V'chazar adin lo rizek rizeh lo rizek rizeh. So chuppah is not similar to just kesef or just bia or just shtar. The common denominator is that you can use them for kinyanim, you can use them for ishos. So I will also include chuppah, which you could acquire with in general, and you could also do Kiddushin with. So now the Gemara says no, but there's a common denominator that they can work against her will. Bia with yibum and shtar with get. I don't know about kesef al korcha. Maybe that the daughter can be sold against her will if the father wants to sell her. So that's the end of this limud. So then the Gemara says Rav Huna. So how would Rav Huna respond? Because Rav Huna says that chuppah kona mikal v'chomer. So how does it work out? We had it shlugged up. Kesef miya beishas lo ashkach bal korcha. Because there is no kesef against her will for ishus. So even if you want to say that Ama Ivriya is Bal Korchach, but there is no ishus. Ama Rava. So Rava says that, okay, so this was the limud from Rav Huna that chuppah works. I can slug up that limud and chuppah does not work. There's two answers. Chada deshal shana tanan v'dal lo tanan. The Mishnah says there's three ways to be mekadesh. If Rav Huna is right, there's a fourth way. V'od klum chuppah gomeres al yedei Kiddushin. And also, chuppah only works once you had kesef shtar or bia. But without kesef sharbia, kesef is chuppah isn't enough to start a marriage to make a Kiddushin. Only chuppah. Amarle Abaye. So Abaye is responding to Rabbi's questions. Hada Kamar Gimel Tanan Dalad Lo Tanan Milsa Tana Milsa Dixiva Hedge Tani Milsa Ktani Milsa Doxiva Hedge Lo Ktani. So the Mishnah only mentioned a number if it's mentioned explicitly in a pasuk. We have a pasuk for Kesef Sharbia. We don't have a pasuk for Chuppah. Therefore, the Mishnah only said 3 and not 4, but it could include Chuppah, which isn't explicit in the pasuk. Now, according to the Rambam about Kesef Divrei Sofrim, because it's through a limud, not explicit, I'm not sure how we would, if this answer for Abaye would work, but he would answer, the Rambam would answer is that we don't pass him like Abaye anyway. But Kamri Klum Chuppah Gomer Salidei Kiddushin, and when you says that Chuppah only works once you have Kiddushin first, Rav Huna Nami Hachika Amar. Rav Huna, this is saying the following: V'ma Kesef Shenu Gomer Achar Kesef Kona. Money which doesn't conclude an isuin if you already gave kesef, but it does work for kedushin. Chuppah which finishes, it doesn't isuin if you had given kesef previously, should certainly work as a kedushin. So it seems that Abaye paskins like Rav Huna, and Rabbi doesn't. Okay, 2 dots in the middle of Hamid base. Tana Rabbana, we learned in the Brisa, Ketz b'kesef. How does Kiddushin with kesef work? Nasan la kesef or shava kesef. If you gave her money or equivalent of money, the Ran on Aleph Amid Aleph brings an opinion, which is the Balaitor's opinion, I think, that just because this is learned out because of the hekesh to get, just like you can't write a get on Mechober Lakarka, you couldn't give a woman karka as a present and say this, I'm being mekadesh you with this karka. It would have to be a movable shava kesef that's movable, but we don't pass in that way. But there is an opinion. If you give her money or something that's worth money, you are sanctified to me, or you are meguresses to me, you're engaged to me, or you're going to be a wife to me. She is engaged. If she gives him money and says, I am mikudeshes to you, or I am engaged to you, or I will be a wife to you, she is not married. So Rapapa asked a question. Taima denasan hu v'amar hu. So the Reisha said the only reason for the Reisha is because he gave and he made the saying, you will be my wife. That's why it works. That makes it sound like if he would have given the money, but she would have said, I am mikudeshes to you, it would not work. Ema seifa, but the second clause of the Brisa said, Aval hi shenasna lo v'amra hi lo have a kiddushin. If she gave it and she said it doesn't work, that implies time of the nasna hi v'amra hi, because she did both the giving and the statement. Hanasan hu v'amra hi have a kiddushin. But if he would have given it and she would have said it, it would be good kiddushin. The only problem is when she did both. So the mashmos, the implied thing of the first thing contradicts the implication of the second clause. So the Gemara answers is the last narrow line, Reisha dafka seifel kidei nasba. The Reisha is literal. You need him to say both. The Seifa is not literal. It just, to go along with the right, it said she said and she gave. But if she does one of them, it's not good. He needs to do both, the saying and the giving. The Tani Seifa, Milsa Desasra Reisha, but still, is the Seifa going to say something that contradicts the first clause? So this is what the Brisa means. Nasan hu v'amar hu pshita have a kiddushin. If he gives her the money and he makes the statement, it works. Nasan hu v'amar he. If he gives it and she says it, nasa kamisha nasan hi v'amar he. It's as if, now we go to the second clause, she said and she gave. V'lo have a kiddushin, and it doesn't work. V'iba is him, and if you want, I'll tell you. Nasan hu v'amar hu mekudeshes. If he said it and he gave it, they're married. Nasan hi v'amar he ain't mekudeshes. If she did both, it's not mekudeshes. Nasan hu v'amar he sveika hi v'chashina midrabana. But if he gave it and she made the statement, it's a suffix, and we're worried that midrabanan that it is good kiddushin. So first of all, that's only nasan hu v'amar he. But if she would have given and he would have said, it sounds like it's not a suffix. But we'll see in the next Gemara on the next stop that it might be the opposite. That might be a stronger kiddushin than this. Then may not be a suffix. Other thing is, how come here it seems we passing Sveiki v'Chishin Min Rabbanan, the Rambam passing it? Why does he? Is he because he's Choshesh L'chumra or this or that? So maybe normally when there's an instance alone where we passing like the second lashon. Here, when it's an Ibai Sema, maybe because many Rishonim always passing like a second lashon, maybe this Ibai Sema is like a second lashon. Two dots, about 9 lines up from the bottom of Hamid Bays. Amar Shmuel, the Kiddushin, Nasan Lakesef V'Shavah Kesef, Amar Lahareat Mekudeshes, Haret Meresas Harei Lu'into Harei Mekudeshes. In Kiddushin, if he gave her money or equivalent to money, and he said, "You are Mekudeshes to me, you are engaged to me, you are my wife," this is very similar to the previous bride we just saw. She is Mekudeshes. Now he continues. He says some other things we didn't see before. Hareini Isheich, I am your husband. Hareini Balech, I am your husband. Hareini Arusei, says Arusei. I am your engaged partner. There is no suspicion. It's certainly not good. V'chein begerishin, and similarly with divorce, nasan lav amar la haret mushulachas haret megureshes haret muter schal adam harez megureshes. If he said, "You are sent away from me, you are divorced from me, you are permitted to all man, to any man," then she's divorced. Any ishech, any balech, any arusach. I'm not your husband. I'm not your husband. I'm not your partner. There's no doubt that he didn't say anything. They are not divorced. So this implies that Shmuel says that if something is not very clear, it's still, so in this case, yadayim, it's like a handle. So a handle which isn't explicit is still a handle. That's basically what it means. When we see the brisa here, it'll make a little bit more sense. But there's a Mishnah, Ha'omer Ahe. He says, I will be like that. Harez a Nazir. We pass in that if he says, I will be, he is a Nazir. And the Gemara we discussed why is that psak true. Maybe he was accepting to fast for the next day. Shmuel explained, the reason that he became a Nazir when he said, I will also be like that, is because there was a Nazir walking in front of him. So when he sees a Nazir and he says, I will be, it's clear that he means I want to be a Nazir. Time at the Nazir over Lefanav. The reason is because there's a Nazir walking in front of him. But if there wasn't a Nazir in front of him, he wouldn't be. So we seem to need some type of reason to know what the context is. So here about not being my husband or whatever seems to be enough of a reason to say that he is talking about Kiddushin. So how come it doesn't work for Kiddushin? So how come I skin into Amar Li? The answer is he said to me, so then so we're saying that the difference is that the first clause, he gave the money, he says into it seems in those cases he said Li. To me, but when he says hareni ishech hareni balech hareni rusayich, it doesn't work. So what's the chiddush? Hani lishne basroi k'mashmalan. He's coming to teach us the second 3 lashonos. Because hachaksiv kikach lo lishikach esatzmo, v'hachaksiv v'shilchav lo shishal esatzmo. The first 3 cases for Gerushin or Kiddushin, that's pasha. The chiddush that Shmuel is teaching us is the second 3 cases. That because he's making himself passive, I'm no longer your husband, etc. like that. The pasuk says he has to take the wife, and not that he is taking himself to her. And also by Gerushin B'shulcha, he has to send her away, v'lo sheishach esasma, not that he's sending himself away. So the first 3 lashonos of Gittin and Kiddushin is not a chiddush, that's pashat. His chiddush is in the lashonos for Gerushin. He can't send himself away, or he can't make him the spouse of the woman. He has to make her, he's the husband, he has to make her the wife. Or if they're divorced, he has to say that he is sending her away. He can't divorce her by saying, I am leaving. That doesn't work. So we'll leave it here at the 2 dots on the 3rd line of Amud Aleph.